Lumber has gotten insanely expensive, and the best way that I know how to make my woodworking dollars stretch in the shop is by maximizing every single stick that comes in and out of the shop through a very specific planning, jointing, planing, and table sawing technique that we're going to talk about today. Check this out. Last week, my friend Steve and I took 10 slabs of cherry that was rough milled and turned it into an enormous solid core door that is 8 feet by 8 feet for the school that I'm building. This right here is every single scrap from that build. To have gone from 10 solid cherry boards to this tiny amount of waste or scraps is honestly pretty incredible. So let's learn how to maximize every single stick of wood in our shop from my own woodworking mentor and favorite woodshop teacher, Steve Dando. So if we get a rough sawn piece of wood that we got from the lumber yard, what do we need to do to make it usable in our shop?
The first thing I do is I make sure there's no stones or gunk staples in here, protect our machinery. Then I look for a concave face, concave. That'll go on the jointer, 2 points of contact.
Okay.
If it's convex, that would be a circle tangent to a flat plane on 1 point. Hard to get. And then when we have our one control face, then we can do an edge.
Great.
We have a control face, we can do another face. We have a controlled edge, we can parallel this, rotate 90, and trim and trim. So all 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, gets trimmed 90 degrees to the best of our ability. You don't want to make a trapezoidal parallelogram. Here's a piece of rough sawn black walnut. The first thing I do is I look down, and it looks like I'm looking at the edge, but I'm actually looking at the faces. Okay, this is going to be the first downside.
Okay.
So that's going to go down on the jointer. A 6 to 8 inch jointer in a home shop is pretty standard. This is the infeed table, the fence, the guard, the cutter head. These slots are silencing devices, so it doesn't make as much noise, and the outfeed table. There's a special relationship between the infeed table, the height of the knives, and the cutter head. See the ruler being carried along just ever so slightly? The height of the arc of the blades is just above the outfeed table. The space underneath the ruler, right here, that is our depth of cut. Make sure the guard's in place. If you ever go to shop, there's no guard on the jointer, run away like hell. Notice how much finger can get in here. I like to keep my fingers 4 inches from the blade. If I'm on top of this, I know I'm 4 inches. If I have to do a flat face, this is about 1.25 inches. I'm going to use a push stick and a paddle. I'll pass over the blades, and I have a grip like this. I don't want this or anything below the height. I want a total grip. Usually I like a 6-inch ruler, a pencil, and a notebook. Before I start, we want to make sure the fence is square. And it's off just to see that?
Yep.
That means we got to fool with it just a little tiny bit. Ooh, there we go. Ooh. Got our safety gear, my reader glasses, which I like, and then hearing protection, push sticks, dust collection, ready to go.
Contacto.
I'm going to take the jointed side. The cutter head is down. This is flat, parallel. Cutter head is up. We'll parallel whatever this is. We'll telegraph through.
All right, show us the next step.
I want to check my dimension. 1 1/4. I'm going to do a safety pass on the surfacer. I'm going to set this to 1 1/4. The up is still up. Now I'm looking at the edges. This is concaved, this is convexed, this wants to be down. I'll be 4 inches away. I don't need the push stick. I think it's more dangerous to try to balance that. But I will use the paddle. Ready for contacto. We got 2 flat and parallel faces. We got 1 edge that's 90 degrees to each face. We got to deal with this remaining edge. You can also plane a face and plane an edge. That planed face needs to be up against the fence. With 2 parallel faces, I can go this way, this way, this way, or this way. It gives me more choices. Sometimes I do a face, then an edge. Sometimes I just do the faces and then go back to do the edge. It's there's no right or wrong on that one, you know. But you still have to go through all the steps.
Great. So now, how do we take care of that one last banana edge?
Well, first of all, someone loaded up the table saw. Any flat surface in the shop is doomsday for material.
Well, let me help you clean it off.
Can't even see the saw blade. We have to
Fix for this. Good thing there's so little scraps from our last build. Wait, that was
There we go.
to its next home.
Are we still rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. Find the onboard wrench storage system. Remove the nut. Put in the heavy duty rip. Wood 3/4 to 2 3/4 does excellent. And if you change out from a cross cutting blade to a rip blade, you are also going to notice the feed pressure is less.
Oh.
The quality of the cut is better. Ooh. Oh, it is right there. Here's our jointed edge. The jointed edge, the control edge goes against the fence. And we just want to skim this and clean it up.
What are you looking for, Steve-O?
The narrowest part, we got like 6 15/16, 7 1/8, 7 1/16. Ooh, so 6 15/16 is the maximum we can get out of here. This edge is flat and straight.
Yep.
So I get to the very end of it. I make sure I'm level on the table and parallel to the fence. And then I do one long continuous motion. I'm pushing in this way. I'm watching the fence. I know where the blade is. There it goes, there it goes, there it goes, and all the way through. Saw stop wants you to have a 1/8 of an inch above the material, right about there. Turn on the saw stop safety system. It's going through a diagnostics and charging up the capacitor. When we get a solid green, no flashy, it's ready to go. There we go. We're ready to use the saw. Under 5 inches, I'll use a push stick.
Okay.
If the wood comes off of the fence, you get a dangerous situation where you can achieve a kickback. I'm conceivably off the fence. The rear tooth grabs it. And then in 3 teeth, 1, 2, 3, this piece is now, and we know exactly where it started from, going this way in a cone, and the cone is about 6 feet in diameter here. This piece is now going that way at 110 miles an hour.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. Also, I make sure that no one is standing here watching. I'm trying to stay on this side, but my little fingers go up here, so I know where my fingers are.
Right, Commando, what's next?
Okay, I'm looking for checks on the ends. We just need to barely skim this one off. Make sure it's right angle and everything. The other end, I know there's a check. To get the maximum, probably cross cut it right there. The next step would be squaring the ends. And then I give it a test. Oh. So I think we got the maximum, you know?
Yeah.
So we're pretty good. We've dealt with the two faces. They're straight and parallel planes. After we established the face, we established one straight edge on the jointer. We paralleled it with the rip fence and the dedicated rip blade. Then we cross-cut square to the ends, got rid of the one little check we needed to deal with. So this is the maximum that we can get out of this board. And then remember, we started off 1.25 inches. And what do we have now? We got like 1 1/16 or so. So it took about 3/16 of an inch, particularly remember when we were doing the surfacer, we had to make several passes.
Yes.
And you can see, remember this was the one with the check. I didn't take it all the way out to here because I knew that, okay, we're going to get rid of this. That would just, get rid of wood that we didn't want to get rid of. Okay, so I believe this piece is going to be a stretcher for a trestle table. And we wanted the maximum width. So now we know the board we got, then we can design this into the table. And it's thicker than 3/4, like if you bought S4S, and it's going to be slightly unusual. They're going to go, oh, this is nice. You know, you didn't buy this in a big box store. You know, this is pretty nice stuff. So now we know exactly what wood we got. We can design the project and make everything look as nice as possible.
Perfect. If you want to learn more about woodworking or homesteading, check out my Squarespace website, annofalltrades.com. I've been using Squarespace to host my website since I started my very first woodworking project and planted my very first seed in 2012, and I've been chronicling my journey and all my projects ever since. On my website, you can find all the other projects that Steve and I have done together. You can find my favorite tools to use. You can learn how to sharpen your tools. You can get some basic beginner projects going in your own shop as well. Now, if you're interested in starting your own website, maybe you have a gallery of photos that you want to share with potential clients. Maybe you want to start selling things online. Check out Squarespace as a resource for that. You can easily drag and drop whatever information you want to share with the world into a beautiful artist design template and then share it with the world. Squarespace has been a fantastic resource for a busy, not super tech savvy person like me, and it would be a great resource for you as well. Check out squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AnnofAllTrades and you'll get a 10% discount. Make sure you stay tuned for the cherry door build. It is going to be epic.